Who are the other characters in Final Fantasy 3?
Well, who did you name Jeddy?
I'm not sure if there was a Jeddy.
Because I mean, let's see. Uh, yeah, Edgar, Seb, and Cyan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness. I'd have to look this up. I don't exactly remember.
Uh,
And there's Gao. I
Gao.
forget.
I was just gonna say Gao.
And let me see. Zach Rich was Shadow,
Right, Shadow. Yeah.
but I didn't know how to save him. You're supposed to wait like 5 minutes before the world ends and then save him.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds. You have to wait like almost to the end, and then he suddenly shoots in, and then you leave.
Yeah, so what happened is I found that out after I recorded it. I went back and loaded the save state, and then I saved him. So I showed the scene of him being saved, but
Yeah, but you saved it already, so
yeah. So
thanks.
I was able to show the scene of him being saved, but he wasn't actually in my party.
Thanks.
And Nathaniel Hoover, he was the guy who has the airship.
Setzer.
Seltzer?
Setzer.
I thought it was Seltzer, but I was just gonna make Alka-Seltzer jokes or something.
Yes.
But instead what I did was whenever he showed up, I go, "Oh, Hoover, nobody does it like you."
Wow.
Really? Yeah, really bad. I think it was at the end, sort of at the end of the game where you have like three characters that show up. Like you have the Yeti and you have
Yeah.
the
Gogo, Umaru, and Mog.
oh, yeah, and those three, by that time, it's like I don't know anybody else on the staff, so you would probably be one of those three. It's like, okay, I had to reach, we didn't have as many staff members back then as we do now, so it's like I have to pick whoever is on staff. That
Yes.
person automatically becomes it. So like, I think Eric got the Yeti, Captain Eric, for no reason. He's not Yeti-like at all.
Yes.
And Paul was the Moogle.
Wow. So I guess that would make me Gogo.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. He comes so late in the game that it's hard to get used to figuring out how to use him, but I actually purposely used him.
Yeah.
Because in the final section, don't you have to fight with like 12 characters?
Yeah, you fight with your full party, basically.
Except for one person, so I chose Paul as the one person who stays out.
Uh-huh.
Just to be mean to Paul. And then at the very end, he walks in, during the ending cutscene, he comes in while our characters are watching Kefka die.
Yeah.
And I point it out and say, Paul, what are you doing here? You didn't help at all. You lazy bum. You're trying to ride on our success.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
So what about a Final Fantasy 3 HD remake? Would that be possible?
I know that they remade Final Fantasy II in 3D. Did they do a similar thing for Final Fantasy 3?
I talked about this at some length. I think during is one of the random videos. See, for my Final Fantasy VI walkthrough, I got to the end of the game and then stopped there. But because I was playing the Game Boy Advance version, I was later informed that you have 2 bonus dungeons.
Yeah.
And one of the bonus dungeons is fight 100 battles in a row.
Okay.
So I had a lot of free time to just talk about anything. So one of the topics I talked about was the Final Fantasy remakes. For Game Boy Advance, they remade 1 and 2, and then they remade 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then they stopped there. But for the DS, I think they remade Final Fantasy 2, like you said, and
Yeah.
then 9, and then that's it. It's like no discernible pattern whatsoever for the DS remakes.
Weird.
Which is weird because the Game Boy Advance remakes is like they just remade them all in order.
Yeah. So about that Final Fantasy VII remake.
Which system was that for? PlayStation?
PlayStation.
That was for PlayStation, and it stars Cloud.
Yes. What a loser.
Do people don't like Cloud apparently? You just called him a loser.
For whatever reason, most people seem to like that game. I don't know. I've never been a fan.
Yeah, I've heard some really positive things about it, but I'm not so sure about it either. So,
Well, like, I
does
think
he
what the
say which system the remake would be for?
no, because all that we were saying was like Paul wanted an
Hmm.
HD remake, or not that he wanted it, but that he was expecting one. So let me go ahead and read the rest of this email.
Oh, no, 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 let's keep going.
Uh, he
Read the
says,
email.
yes, he says, seriously, could you imagine Aerith's death in HD? I'm sorry, but I'd find that heartbreaking. I know people say it wasn't upsetting or that they saw it coming, and I'm sorry for bringing this up for about the third time, but when Aerith reminds you of someone you are very close to, her death just tears you apart, and I think that making a remake of Final Fantasy VII will make the scene unbearable. I'm sure many other gamers would find it distressing too. Don't get me wrong, for a long time I've loved the idea of a remake of the original Final Fantasy VII, perhaps with a similar battle style to Kingdom Hearts or Dissidia,
Hmm.
but the infamous scene is what changed my mind.
That's interesting because with Final Fantasy III, there's the one scene where who's the girl, who's the captain? I'm totally forgetting the real names of the characters.
Wait, which game?
Final Fantasy III, the SNES one?
Oh, you mean Celeste.
Celeste, yeah, she's a general or something. When we
Yes,
first
well,
meet her, she works for the bad guys, right?
yes, yeah.
But they're torturing her.
Yeah, they're beating her up.
They're beating her up. And what they did is in the remake, they got rid of that scene.
Really? Well, I mean, I guess violence against women or whatever.
Yeah, so I was thinking, if that's the case, then they would probably do the same thing with Aerith's death if it's really such a traumatic scene.
Interesting.
But I think actually what happened, I mean, I was just checking this out on the internet. It's not like I was really researching this, but I think some kids actually tried to recreate that scene in Japan and they acted it out with horrible results.
Yeah,
So I hear that's the real reason they cut it out.
wow.
So if that's the real reason they cut it out, then maybe they don't really care about, you know, being nice to people.
That's interesting. Well, how did they introduce the character, Celeste? Or I guess you still could see her chained to the wall.
She's
Just,
still chained to the wall, and you just have the guards, and I guess they say mean things to her, but they don't actually like hit her or
yeah,
anything. That's all.
interesting. Oh, also, he goes on to say, also a question.
Hmm.
If one was to go about joining GameCola, what would the process involve?
The process would involve emailing Paul.
Yeah, pfranzen at gamecola.net.
What I did to join the GameCola crew was I emailed Paul, and he had me write a couple of test columns. So I wrote an inside the guide for Mickey Mouse capades, and he took me on. He's like, this is not so great, but what the heck, I'll give you a shot.
I was on LiveJournal at the time, and I was on like a game developer community, and
Hmm.
Paul came on and was like, I run this video game comedy website. Does anyone want to write articles for me? And I was like, I have this really lame personal website that I write stuff for. Here, take a look. And he was like, wow, this stuff is not so great. Have a job.
Yeah, I think that's how he hunted down other members of the Game Cola crew with Nathaniel Hoover and Zach Rich. He found stuff they wrote in game FAQs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But if you particularly want to be a member of the Game Cola crew, that's what you'd have to do is get in contact with Paul Franzen.
yes,
And he'll probably want samples of your writing.
yeah, that's true. So if you have a website or something, that would be, just direct him over there, or if not, send him some stuff.
Yeah, just do what I did. And it's like, well, here's a sample of what I would be writing for the website if you hired me.
Does GameCola still have video game reviews?
GameCola does have video game reviews, however, they all come from Matt Jonas. We'll check the list of video game reviews. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX,
Matt Jonas?
Matt Jonas. Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, Chapter 1 of the Hoops Barkley Saga by
That's
Michael
Michael Ridgway.
Ridgway. Yeah. Dead or Alive Dimensions, Matt Jonas. Contra Rebirth, Matt Jonas. Super Mario Land, Matt Jonas. Aw, man, the other things don't tell us who they... Wow. I mean, Ridge Racer 3D, that's Matt Jonas. Brink. Oh, Christian Porter. So the last time, I guess, there was a review not by Matt Jonas was Christian Porter in May 24th.
Wow.
If you don't count Michael Ridgway's Barkley Shut Up and Jam.
I don't.
Well, let's hope he doesn't come on the podcast, too. Okay, so May 24th through June 28th, it's all just Matt Jonas, so...
Well, hey, look at this one. This one was by you. Royal Trouble?
Yeah. Ooh, and then we have my other one, the Pride and Prejudice game.
Oh, yeah.
So those were like reviews I had like half written 6 months ago.
Wow.
It took me a long time to get to it.
So anyway,
Anyway,
yes.
we were discussing Final Fantasy something, right?
Actually, I think we were done. He was saying he doesn't want it because it would be too emotional if it were
Okay.
actually with good graphics. What he's saying is that the bad graphics detract enough that it makes it not so serious.
Mm-hmm. My question is, would this game be... Well, Final Fantasy VII, does that come on multiple CDs?
It came on 3 CDs at the time.
Came on 3 CDs at the time. So is this the one where, like, at the end of the second CD, there's a horrible boss battle, which is impossible?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I just remember talking to one of my friends who's a gamer person, but who plays, like, actual video games, unlike me, where I just play adventure games.
Yes.
So she was very upset with the Back to the Future series because there was, like, no option to punch somebody. She's used to, like, first-person shooters and things like that, and so she's like, it's like, if I was playing this game, I would have just punched him and taken the item from him. It's like, that's not how adventure games work.
Wow.
But she was telling me there was a horrible Final Fantasy game, I think it might be Final Fantasy VII, where, like, at the end of the second CD, you have the boss battle where one of the characters is swallowed up by a plant monster,
Okay.
and you have to defeat the plant monster without killing your character who's being held by that creature.
Yeah, I vaguely recall this, but
So you
yeah.
constantly have to heal your character while fighting the boss at the same time, and it's just a pain.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say on the subject. What is our next piece of viewer mail, or reader mail?
Actually, it's another one that was caught in between podcast 37, 38, because we read Sarah's email and discussed it at length in podcast number 38, but she actually tried emailing us again. Sorry for the wait, Sarah. And it says, "Hey guys, this is actually my second try at emailing you guys. I love your podcasts. I was listening to them on our road trip from Ohio back down to Florida. It helped a lot to pass the 14 to 16 hour car ride. I also have a few questions for you. Yay, questions.
Mm-hmm.
Concerning videos, what do you think is the difference between Let's Play and walkthroughs? Also, I'd like to know what everyone else, besides Michael Gray, thinks of the Nancy Drew games.
Seriously? Seriously?
And lastly, a request. Can you guys make a video series of Monkey Island? Pretty pleased with the Cherry family on top? Oh,
I can answer
and,
this one, actually. Finish reading, sorry.
yeah, I know she said lastly, and then she keeps going on.
I need to take notes, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
Oh, and just so you know, I think that there are a lot more people that listen to your podcast than you think. Keep up the awesome, guys. By the way, nice Portal shirts, Paul. Congrats.
Okay, so I've got my notes here. Do you have your notes? Well, I guess you
Yes.
have the actual email.
I
So
have
what
the
are you
email.
prepared to talk about first?
Hey guys.
I was going to say she went to Florida. You're in Florida, right?
I am.
She was not taking a trip to visit you, was she?
Sadly, no.
Oh,
Yes, actually,
that
don't
would
know, I
be
live-
our first interactive podcast where we have, like, our listeners on the podcast.
that'd be crazy.
That would be insane.
Yeah, it might even be kind of creepy.